Greetings and welcome back to Switch to Linux. We are here with another supporter stream talking about the barriers to switching to Linux. And I once again forgot to turn on my thing back there. All right, there we are. How's it going, everybody?
Doing good.
No, doing good.
All right. I'm trying out a different audio setup today. I'm feeding multiple feeds through a USB interface. So let me know if there's any echoing or things like this. This is better because I have a lot more bounce on my headphones. Pretty soon I'll get one of those professional-looking headphones. Then, we'll shoot up in the ranks because I'll look like a streamer,
There we go.
But anyway. How's it going, Selbu?
Oh, I'm doing fine. Although I might not be fine when Adama finds out that I'm using his private quarters in order to stream this.
Yeah, and I have no idea what you're talking about. So, I mean, I get it. Your background picture is some famous dude for possibly powerful and or dangerous from some show, but I'm so culturally unaware. I have no idea what it is.
So I had some visitors today, so today have been fine.
Oh, good. Awesome. Ivan, how's it going your way?
Not too bad. I actually just recently finished up a couple of case mods with my Linux machine and my Windows machine.
Sweet.
I did videos. I did a video on that, so you can see me spray paint some glass and install the drive on my Linux machine that I've had since like 14. And I'm like, that's 3 terabytes. I could use that. And I'll stick it in my Linux machine and have that around for whatever I want.
Cool.
Whatever that is. Yeah.
Nice.
So.
Dan, what's up your way?
Not a whole bunch. I've been just monkeying around with some of my computers, and I tried to do a Mint update, and it wanted me to do the backup thing, and I didn't really want to do that, so I decided to stop that. The update to.
No, there's a way to bypass that.
That's what everybody keeps saying. And I tried the toss way, and it gave me toss results.
Oh, really? The new upgrade tool should have an option to disable that. The old one, you just have to create, just touch a file for the backup, and that's all it needs. I thought I had it somewhere. Maybe I don't, but I don't know. Oh, well, it's something. So we are restreaming on YouTube, Odyssey, Rumble, Twitch, and DLive. So if you want to jump on an alternative platform, particularly we're keeping an eye on Rumble right now because the other day the stream was not working. And I need to find out why, because Rumble's the only one we're actually paying for. I thought I had it somewhere. It looks like it's running right now. So right now, let's see, our numbers, we got 17 watching currently on YouTube. Only 1 on Odyssey. That can't be right. Usually we get a lot more on Odyssey when we're streaming live over there. Unable to publish a replay. Click on that. Okay, that says 12 currently watching. All right. Rumble says only 1. Twitch says only 1, and DLive is 1. Greetings, everybody over there. DLive does not seem to reset the comments, so that's interesting. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get on into our topic today. And we want to talk about the barriers to switching to Linux. Does anybody have any initial thoughts before we dive into my list?
I think the biggest barrier is the fact that the 95% of all systems that is sold anywhere are pre-installed with Windows. So most people use whatever is installed. So if some local shop started having 50-50 with some Linux and the other 50 with Windows, then I think 50% would just choose Windows, and the other 50 would choose Linux because they don't buy an operating system. They buy a PC in order to do their work, and what's on there is not what's on their mind actually.
Yeah, and that, and as long as people understand the difference, I remember there was the old crazy Linux hit piece, from, I don't know, almost a decade ago now, where the woman, the girl's going off to college and she buys a computer with Ubuntu on it. And she's like, I had to drop out of college because it wouldn't run the software. It's like, what? Wouldn't run like literally like the installation information for your router for your internet. Does anybody ever use those? You don't need to install that little disk that comes with your router to make it work. But I guess some people are insufferable morons. So they think that you have to enter that thing and type in the, routercrap.exe file and play it. But if people go in and understand, hey, you're going to pay a little bit less for this computer of similar specs. It's not going to run all the basic program, like all of the big name programs, but it's going to be able to access your email. It's going to be able to get on the internet. It's going to work really well. And people have that option. I think a lot more people would use it, but is on my list.
You got a choice. You can buy a computer preloaded with Windows on it, which seems to be the popular choice. But there's Macs out there loaded with their software, and their software isn't really compatible with Windows software. Yep. I mean, they're not switchy. I mean, there's room for a third option out here, and I think Linux has more software than Mac does.
Yeah, it might have more software than Windows. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. Yeah, Ivan, any ideas before we get started?
Yeah, I just think, go back far enough. There was only one choice at the end of it all, and that was Microsoft. Mm-hmm. And that's all the way back in MS-DOS days. I can remember machines back in like 82, 83, stuff like that. Yep. And Macintosh wasn't even around. It was the Apple II series.
Yeah, and I had those in my classrooms in school growing up, so don't knock them too hard.
Oh, believe me, I'm an Apple II ECGS type guy. I love the two line myself.
Yeah, I gotta get the Raspberry Pi emulators does have like the Apple IIe type of stuff emulators. I've never gotten it to work. I wanted to get Oregon Trail working. I would love to play that game again, but I think it's available somewhere online to just play in the browser. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Let me check in on comments. I forgot to do that before we jump out here. So, YouTube, Jeffrey's out there. i3 and Cinnamon together would be nice. There you go. For spinning up Sparky. Yeah, I'm going to, before I head back to the campsite tonight, I'm going to see if there's internet around here that I can download a few different ARM builds and play around with some ARM builds for the next couple days. That'd be fun. Android, they have free ad blocker, 1 and all, 3 bits barriers to Linux desktop are hardware-based with Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and NVIDIA GPUs. And that's a good point. However, if you're going to the store and buying a Linux computer, it's going to work well. Of course, System 76 has gotten NVIDIA working just fine. We're going to talk about some of the issues with that, though. Let's get past one.
It works fine for me, too.
Mm-hmm. Good.
I mean, I have an NVIDIA GTX 3080 Ti, not exactly low-end video card, and I'm able to get it to work just fine in Linux without a hitch.
Mm-hmm.
It delivers some really good horsepower on some really high-demanding games.
And you're using that just fine on Linux?
Put it this way, Cyberpunk is one of the most demanding games they've come out with so far that I've actually monkeyed with. I can get over 100 FPS frame rates with it, with all of its poorly coded stuff in it, or non-optimized, I should say.
Is that 2077?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's see. Thanks, Internet Manjaro. There's a lot of I'm skipping over the comments that aren't closely related to this. Let's see. 300 baud. There you go. How's it going, Rick? Let's see. Hermit back. Gonna be let up for a while. Oh no, Mr. Anderson. That's not good. Hope you get better. Moonbase Alpha Grays. Greetings. Subscribed 2 days ago. Now live. Heck yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for subscribing. Yeah, we did end up in YouTube's gulag last week, so sorry for that. But that's okay. It just gave me the motivation to finish the restreaming server that's been on my list for almost 2 years to build. So now we are live streaming. Right now we have 25 watching on YouTube. I'm showing 17 on Odyssey. I'm showing 2 on Rumble, which usually has been building up. The longer you're live, the more people tend to show up. We have 1 over on Twitch and 1 over on D Live. Those 2 are just like, they're just like the hang around friends that hang out in the back. You don't know they're there until, the end of the day or something. Yeah, but now there's that. Let's see. Sound high enough for you guys? Yeah, sounds good on your end. Bears Desktop Linux. Just only one Microsoft Office format compatibility. I disagree. And I've been doing a little bit more with this on my Writing Done Right channel. Microsoft Office's format for 99.9 repeating % of all users who use it is perfectly compatible with OnlyOffice, with LibreOffice, with WPS, pretty much everything. The thing is, do you have the fonts installed, and are you cognizant of which file format you're using? Because the docx file format is actually an inferior document format to the ODT. You just think it's that Microsoft Office doesn't work right because it's different. In reality, it's a far inferior file type. And that's why we use ODTs to actually produce my books that I publish on Linux, on LibreOffice, and send them right to the professional book printers where you can go anywhere in the world on your online bookstore and buy my books. That is all done on LibreOffice. You can't do that on Microsoft Office, and it has to do with limitations of the docx file format. But compatibility is perfectly fine between the two. You just have to be cognizant of the file formats you're using and who you're sending the files with. Microsoft, that is the barrier to Linux, yes. Odyssey's got issue with video package size. I agree with that. Need antidote for the lunch I had. I think they call it protamine on a shingle. Ew. Yeah, you might need some. Cinema's as close to Vista as you can get. There you go. Got my Steam Deck yesterday. Very cool. Let's see. Love my Apple IE 2E back in the day. Absolutely. Like Photoshop of 2005. Let's see. Official photo editing software. GIMP is really limited in features compared to modern solutions. I disagree with that as well. It's different than Photoshop, but give me the 2. I'll prefer GIMP. And I am proficient in both of them. Other than the latest edge AI implemented technologies are feeding into Photoshop, GIMP has every function of Photoshop. The question is, do you know how to use it? Or are you saying it doesn't work well because it's different than Photoshop? These are indeed some of the barriers, though, to Linux. So they're good for conversation. We'll get into these a little bit here. Commodore fan says dump D Live. No, why? I mean... And if we get a few people over there, they'll watch. And yeah, they're almost as censorious as YouTube, but I'll just wait for them to kick me off. That's fine. But if I find 5 users over there that are completely against everything else that get the content, hey, that's awesome. Let's see. We got, don't recall Linux being sinister. We're reading comments on Odyssey now. Let's see. 13 watching. Turkey, we sell Linux, but people prefer DOS. DOS. DOS? What? DOS. Yes. Turkey's that ancient? I mean, come on, guys. Even the Amish in America use Sparky Linux. There's a documentary about that. Even Mac formats now. Libre is pretty compatible now. Yeah. And the latest LibreOffice 7.4 increases some of the compatibility stuff as well. No one live over there on Rumble. We do have monetization on Rumble. 5 watching, though. Thanks for watching over on Rumble. We do have monetization on Rumble, so if you want to send a Rumble rant, they only take 20% instead of YouTube's 30%. So that is a good way to help support the channel over there as well. Nobody, let's see. Yep, nobody commenting on Twitch. There's one person over there. And Rocket just donated 1 lemon on DLive. Thank you very much. I have no idea what that means. I got a lemon now. I'll make some lemonade later. I'll have to look into DLive. And Rocket is saying, good to see you live over here. Thank you for that. And I will look into what I can do with those lemons down the road.
I just opened the Switch to Linux website. You know, because you mentioned that you're streaming on various other platforms other than YouTube. Yep. But your web page only links to YouTube.
Yeah. So I'm still working on the moving the site over. I kind of got delayed in that with the van build and stuff. But it's on the list to start working on that. And one of the challenges I have right now is that the Joomla rolled and the theming that I built needs rebuilt for Joomla 4. And so I have to get in there and rebuild the themes, which I'm going to get that done pretty soon because I have some plans for the Switch to Linux channel that are exciting to me. And it's just like, okay, when do I have time to implement these? And that's why I'm kind of looking into the possibility of hiring an assistant and things like that. So we'll be looking at that kind of stuff.
So my suggestion would be to you have up in the resources section of your webpage. You have how you could support economically and so on. That could be a potential page to list all the various platforms that you are streaming and have videos on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I want to do that. So yeah, I have basically just need to rebuild, I think 3 more page templates and then make sure they're all compatible for Joomla 4 and then migrate the content. That's kind of what I need to do. So I don't know. I might hire somebody just to migrate the content just so I don't have to deal with it. Although it wasn't all that difficult to migrate my Christian site over. That didn't take me too long, and that site was probably larger than Switch to Linux. All right, let's go ahead and get on into the topic a little bit more. Let me give you guys my list. Now, we already talked about you can't go into a store and buy a Linux desktop. So we already talked about that one. Is there anything else to mention on that before we move on to the very closely related?
Yes, Micro Center.
It's not true that you can't go into a shop and buy it, but in most stores you can't. There are some
in America
stores
that's generally the case.
Yeah, and even on the when you buy online, I think Dell is one of the manufacturers where you can where you can choose have Linux as an operating system. But
Dell, HP,
it's not a huge list.
Dan?
A couple of years ago when I was at Micro Center, they had some Linux machines, mainly laptops out. Mm-hmm. And they had I think they had like 3 Dells and a Lenovo, and most of them had Ubuntu on them. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I haven't seen anything at a Best Buy or Walmart or where it's right in people's faces.
And that's what we need is to get that. So that's pretty cool. Now, closely related to this is when you can buy a computer with Linux, why is every computer with Linux the such latest, greatest edge your average person can't afford it? Okay, the power of Linux is that you can run it and rejuvenate an old computer that otherwise you'd have to throw away. Yet we can't go out and just buy a low-end spec computer for basic things. Every Linux computer I've seen, because there was another one that just came out recently, you look at these things and they got 100 gigabytes of video memory integrated inside of the 15 terabyte SSD and the 4K resolution. It's like, dude, nobody needs this crap. Where can I go and order a Linux computer online and pay under $500? Because I can go into Best Buy and I can spend $500 on a variety of very good computers and wipe them and install Linux on them. And that's going to be another point we'll get to a little bit later. But where are the inexpensive options? I'm not saying get rid of the high-end stuff, which are for developers. I understand. And it's not true to say nobody needs it. It's just that the people, the audience you need to capture needs to have an option that is cheap enough to be viable. That
Yeah.
they're going to.
The one
wanna buy
option
a
I'm
computer that's
affiliated
low-end.
with is rescuing older computers that will no longer be safe to use Windows 8 or Windows 7 or Windows XP on them, and match them to a perfect Linux distro that works great on them. That is something cheap. The only thing you're going to suffer is maybe battery degradation or something like that. But them machines work just as good. I mean, think of it. A machine that's 10 years old, you can still safely get on the internet with it, which you can't do with an older version of Windows.
Correct. But I do like turning on my Windows 98 onto the internet just to see what happens. That is fun.
I remember 20 years ago in 2001 or along those lines, me and a friend, we tried because he was reading about sharing between his computers at home, the Windows Samba sharing that we are used to call it now. And he called me one day and he wanted to test something just to see if it was possible. And I managed to access his shared folder over the internet. And that was long before the ISP starting to block the Samba ports. So the internet was a very different place 20 years ago than it is now.
Well, also you have this other problem too, that distros either don't have, or the more popular corporate sponsored distros don't want to put money into advertising to push for it. I mean, they feel that it's not going to yield them very many returns or whatever the case may be. And the smaller distros, working with them, I understand them. They make a distro, they put it out there. They live solely on donations, and it barely pays for all the servers and stuff so they can keep their distro up.
Yeah, that is a challenge. I did notice the other day, by the way, that Peppermint does now have torrents. Thank you for that, Peppermint team.
Yeah, they're doing really good with that stuff.
Yeah, that was because that was one of the things I had. It's like I couldn't download it anywhere but SourceForge, and it wasn't working.
Well,
for me. Now they have torrents
and you click on the download button in SourceForge, and it offers the 386 option. I complained to them about that a while ago. They finally found the switch to fix that.
Oh, good, awesome.
So now you get the 64-bit version offered on the download button.
Yeah,
and I want to thank the developer that actually found that.
But the big corporate distributions such as SUSE and Red Hat, they do advertise, but they are tailored. Their big market is corporate users, like big corporations that needs support for their installed systems. That is where they earn their money. They have huge income in support fees, support contracts. And the benefit for the rest of us is that we can download the community edition like OpenSUSE and Fedora and so on, and CentOS and the various derivatives of that, and install it for free. And it just works more or less the same as in the corporate environment, with the exception that we don't have support.
Companies like Canonical and Red Hat and stuff like that, I bet them companies have shareholders, and that's what they're afraid of when they try and push a Linux distro desktop out. Or what are the shareholders really going to think?
Yeah, and that's a good question. Can we convince the shareholders that maybe they need to start embracing some of the more open source options? I mean, we're not going to gain any points in the global world by enriching Bill Gates anymore, so he can buy up more farmland and force us to eat bugs. But with that, turning to my next point that I have here, how's this one? Convincing people that they might need to switch their operating system.
Yeah, people, humans are creatures of habit. We learn one thing and then we do that for as long as we can do it.
And it's not just that as much as it is a lot of people don't see some of the issues with Microsoft or Mac, and in reality, the thing is we all get the point where we can understand that Microsoft is a thing, Mac is a thing, and most of the world uses these. So most people have to at least be familiar with these. But when you're going home at night and you're just doing your basic entertainment to a computer, and also here's an assumption, do you even have one? I know people that don't have computers. They do everything they can do on their phone. So we understand that as well. But at the same time, if you do have a computer at home for, online banking or stuff like that, do you recognize that you can do that with an operating system that's not Windows? And why might you want to do that? Getting people to understand that there are things to hide, that we have to be more cognizant, is an important thing. And that's kind of my next thing, is to get people to think about it, because a lot of people don't even know Linux exists. And how do you convince somebody who doesn't know Linux exists that you need to switch to it?
And there's also those who, I heard this yesterday. I think someone commented that, I think it was another YouTube video, but where he overheard someone, or he got in touch with someone, and they talked about, and the other person was asking what he was doing, and he said that he was working on Linux. And his friend's immediate response was, "Is that still around?"
Yeah, I actually had somebody say that to me the other day. Like, that's still a thing. Yeah, actually, it is a thing.
Actually, it's become more of a popular thing for running servers, the space station, and all the other good stuff. The supercomputers.
And all the various devices that they put in our homes. They are almost everyone.
It's past everything you see in the stores and everything. It's long shot past that.
Yeah. What did I say? I'm trying to remember exactly. I think my van might have an embedded Windows system. It took me almost a year to figure out what format to put the playlists in. I literally had to tinker around with playlist formats, and it ended up using, like, I think forward slashes instead of backslash. I know it was backslashes instead of forward slashes, which led me to believe it was some type of embedded Windows system is in the van. So apparently I'm still using Windows too, although not willingly.
Oh boy.
But I did get my playlist figured out. So basically what I do now is when I want to create a playlist, I just pull up the videos, dump everything into VLC, have VLC save the playlist, and then I do a batch replace for the backslashes and switch from all the forward slashes, switch from all the backslashes, and stuff like that.
Oh boy.
So,
even the tractors are now running some form of Linux. I heard about this in the quest to have John Deere change their ways about having farmers give them the tools they need in order to reset the various warnings without having the manufacturer to come 2 weeks later because some alarm showed up. And people, someone noticed, I think this summer, there was some error code that he recognized, and he discovered that they are running an auto support version of Linux. That it's a very special Linux that I have never heard about it before, but it's a distribution that is marketed towards embedded systems where it is critically important that it doesn't crash in any way. And so now some farmers have started to ask John Deere for source code for the embedded Linux OS.
Good luck with that
one. Pleb. Yeah. Let's check in on comments before we move on to our next couple points. I think I have two or three more. Let's see. I had to pull up my Wi-Fi drivers from Mint 93 to get Mint 21 to work. Just switch back to Sparky. Tired of the idiocy. Really? I gotta say though, Mint 21 is not as good as the older versions. I think Mint is starting to suffer from the degradation in the Ubuntu core. I think is what's going on because Ubuntu is getting unstable. Walmart mid 2000 sold desktop running Windows in stores. Yes. I went to my very first Walmart ever in Orlando, Florida. There was one across from the hotel I was staying at. Never seen a Walmart prior to that. Let's see. When was that? That was the mid 90s, I think. Main thing missing in GIMP is non-destructive editing. Apart from that, working with shapes is a nightmare. Non-destructive editing. Well, I think the older versions did have non-destructive, and people wanted it. They wanted some of the layers in there. Yeah, I mean, I hear a few of those complaints. They've never actually interfered with my ability to do anything, which I don't know. I guess that's a debate for another day. Walmart had an AMD Chromebook for $96. Nice. But why the games are not launching anymore on Linux? I'm in Manjaro, but I tried Pop! OS, Mint, Ubuntu, Zorin, nothing launches. Really? I assume you're talking about Wine games?
Yeah, I'm using the same Steam client, and anything that plays on the Steam Deck will play on my Steam client.
Yeah, I had an issue with one of the versions of Ubuntu did not package something that would make it was I think it was Wine applications work. Because I actually have a hard drive just for the few video games that I like to play, all running on Linux, and those drives. I actually had to dual boot it between Linux Mint and Pop! OS because one of the games would work on one of them and one of them would only work on the other one. That has been resolved now if I wanted to rebuild the drive on a single system, but that's what I had to do to make it work. I think it was like Steam wasn't working. It was Steam and Wine would not work on each of the systems properly. It was weird. I don't know. Let's see. Micro Center should have taken the Fry's location in Vegas. I don't think I've ever been to a Micro Center, or I think I was in a Fry's once.
If you go in a Micro Center, make sure you lock your wallet in your van.
Oh, okay. They're that bad, huh?
You'll walk out with half the store.
Yeah, it's like I've seen videos from J2 Cents, and he gets the Micro Center to sponsor some of his stuff, and he actually did some stuff at his local Micro Center. He's out there in like San Diego or something like that. And just from the sites, I'm like, whoa, yeah, give me a blank check. I'm done.
Yeah. This is a good one here from Commodore Fan. People go to a big box store like Walmart, Target, Best Buy, etc. They're stuck with whatever they see on the shelves, and the salesman pushes because they don't know any better. That does raise another concern that somebody doesn't know they're buying Linux and they take it home and they try and install, their favorite .exe suite of video games that I've had on CD-ROM for the last 20 years, and it doesn't work. They're going to be a little disappointed. But that's maybe one of the reasons we're not going to get Linux on the desktop is because we don't even have competent salespeople anymore that know the difference. Like last couple of times I've been into a Best Buy, I need to look something up, and of course you can't even find a sales associate anymore. So let's go over to whatever local computer is nearby there and just start doing research on whatever product I'm looking for in the computer section. And invariably some guy comes over, oh, what can I help you with? Thinking he's going to sell a computer. I'm like, no, I need to know this, and this about this particular product. He's like, well, what do you mean that? What? And one of the things, Louis Rossman, in fact, just did a video the other day, one of the complaints on the USB-C charger stuff. You guys saw that one. And, people were saying he buys this inflatable mattress and the mattress pump takes USB-C, but it doesn't work with a lot of different devices. And some people would think it's broken because any old quote-unquote universal system isn't working. And it has to do, what he didn't clarify in the video, it has to do with the power output. Like, there are actually USB outputs I could plug into this van to charge a Mac on the new USB systems, but you have to get the ones that are pushing out the proper amount of wattage. I don't have any of those installed in my system because I don't have a need for USB that powerful. I do have one of them, my systems is a quick charge port, and the other ones I have are standard charge ports. And the difference is how much amperage output do they do. And so looking at that, nearly everything nowadays doesn't even have basic information on the box that I thought was actually required by law. Like,
Yeah.
I need to know, is this thing a DC or an AC power source, and what is the wattage? And all they're telling me is, just a bunch of useless sales crap. It's like, no, give me some specs on the box.
Yeah,
I ran into that when I just bought my latest printer. I got a new Brother printer, all in one. Well, the first one I brought home was a little smaller, and it said right on the box, that it was able to do USB, just regular USB cable. Well, I got it home. I started taking it out of the box. I opened the quick installation manual, and it says it does all this stuff. And then it says Ethernet and USB connection for this model only, which was not the model I had.
Oh, Lord.
So I didn't even bother taking any of the tape or anything off of the unit or anything. I just carefully just packaged it all back up, put some tape on the box, ran back to Staples, showed the guy that sold it to me, because he did know the printers, but he didn't know this trick where they got it. It says it works on the box, but you take the paperwork out and it don't work. And I told him, well, I'll take this other one over here, but I want you to unbox it, and I want you to look in the instructions, and I want you to show me where the USB port is on it.
Yeah.
So he did an in-store unboxing to confirm it was something that I wanted, because I didn't want a network printer.
Yeah, and I think
apparently
these
we had
printers
a troll
that
over
are
there on
Wi-Fi.
Odyssey, which I didn't see, but let's see. Those Linux machines are for developers. Yes, I know they're for developers, but the problem is that we can't get in there and just simply buy something. Buy something that's not for developers. Where can I go and buy a Linux machine that's not for a developer? I don't even know of a place I can go online other than maybe Lenovo, HP, or Dell. But why can't System 76 develop a good Linux machine that's not for developers?
There's
maybe
another
that's
one
not their
overseas,
market, but maybe it should be.
Tux Laptop or Tux something. They sell laptops with only Linux on them too. I think the Linux Experiment dude, he uses them as a sponsor.
But to get back to Louis Osman's point, his points about the various cables was that the USB-C was supposed to be a standard where you make a cable that will work with everything, and it clearly doesn't.
Yeah, and we're going to start seeing actual real property damage problems when the new USB comes out, which can push tons and tons of power through it, and people try and use the wrong cable on a device and push that much power through and end up causing a fire. We're going to see that. It's going to happen because you can't push the amount of current that they want to push through the same port output through a lot of the devices that we currently have. It's going to cause a lot of problems. Even the devices that have switches that's supposed to block that, you're going to overwhelm it. And so that's one of the problems. But yeah, the thing about USB-C is, sure, the port fits with everything, so it's universal in the port, but the power going through that cable is really the difference. We have 8 watching over on Rumble right now. Rumble at Switch to Linux. Biggest barriers: dozens of Linux distros intimidate newbies. That'll be on my list. We'll get to it. Love the channel, and now on Rumble. We've actually have been on Rumble for about 2 years now, actually. I just haven't live streamed on Rumble yet. Still only one person watching on Twitch and no discussion. All right, that's fine. And one over there on D-Live. Must be Rocket. How's it going, Rocket? Thanks for joining us over there. Let's see. Wi-Fi brother laser printer. I can print from my tablet phone if you need to. Yep. Tux computers use KDE only. Need more mainstream laptops under or around $500 that come with Linux. That's exactly what we need. Best Buy had Raspberry Pis before all the scalpers started grabbing them up. Yeah, I ended up buying 1 or 2 from Best Buy, but they're not even, I didn't think they're stocking them anymore. Maybe they are. It's just nobody can get them right now. So we'll have to see. But they started selling them and then they sold out, and I haven't seen them back since. But I think it might just be because everyone's having a trouble getting Raspberry Pis in right now. I'm actually glad I have like 4 or 5 of them around here. I can't remember.
Yeah, I looked around for some new ones for the peppermint guys, so we could kind of contemplate on making a peppermint Raspberry Pi edition, but I can't find them anywhere in decent condition.
Yeah. Well, Vilros still had new ones last I knew. Of course, that was about 3 or 4 months ago. Maybe 4 or 5 months ago is when I bought them. They had the Rev 1.5 in, which was working well. I have 6. I have 6 Raspberry Pis. I have
now if you want to make something that runs on a graphics card only, I hear those are going to be really cheap soon.
There you go. Well, and there's also some other single boards that are coming out, which are really good as well. So I don't know. I'd like to experiment with some of those, and maybe when I'm not living on the road. that'd be fun. All right. Let's see. My next reason is. Yes, I have 3 left. Installation confidence. This, I think, is a big barrier that, well, Linux is actually very easy to install. It's difficult to get it installed with confidence. In other words, people are not used to installing entire operating systems on their computer. And without somebody helping them out or doing it for them, many people won't try Linux for that simple reason, even though you can do it non-destructively on an external USB hard drive or things like that. So maybe as the Linux community, we can raise awareness of Linux and for free help people install Linux on older hardware that they might have laying around.
Yeah, because most people don't install because most people don't install Windows. It comes with the computer that they buy, and in the few cases where they need to reinstall, many of those actually need someone to come and help them to reinstall it. Even though these days it's just you press a key on the boot up and then you reflash or do a restore. But many people need help even doing that. So having someone like that installing anything is installing any operating system is, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Ivan, you've had luck converting people, right?
Yeah, but actually that was my sister. She actually did it on her own. I didn't actually have to be involved in it. Okay. I just basically told her about it and told her what she would need. And this was on Mint XFCE. I'm like, yeah, if you happen to have an older one around, throw it on a laptop. If you have a spare, see if it works. And told her more about it, and she dug it out and she tried doing it, and she said it worked. And I'm like, good. There you go. Now have fun with it.
Yeah. There you go. That's the thing. But yeah, I mean, installation confidence, which it's easy once you do it, but it's difficult doing it that first time. It's like, even when I'm switching to Linux, I literally kept this thing. I ran that one computer I had for like 2 years, running Linux on it almost exclusively from an external hard drive. I kept the Windows 8 on there. I just didn't want to wipe Windows 8 off of there. I finally said, why? I didn't boot into this thing anymore. Why? Kill it. Kill the thing. Burn it with fire. It's Windows 8.
I'll tell you a story about something one of the developers posted in the Peppermint Element chat. They found a blog from a country either in South America or Africa. Well, anyways, they were actually talking about Peppermint and how they were using it to actually put it as a persistent operating system on USB drives because they don't have new computers in them areas. Mm-hmm. And they would give these USB drives to the kids for school. Yep. And all the kids' homework and everything else was on the drive, including the operating system, and would work in any classroom computer that was working.
That's a really good idea and something we should do. And something you can do. I have my box of drives, which is mostly Linux distributions. I mean, if I look at this guy, this is actually everything relating to my publishing company. Don't lose that one, right? This is my banking hard drive. There you go. We got Tails. This one is oh, why can I not remember the name of this off the top of my head? It's the one you can just drop ISOs directly onto it and boot off of it. What's that one called?
Noobs? No.
Ventoy?
Which one? Ventoy. Yeah, it's Ventoy. That's Ventoy. And what else do I have over here? I think most of the rest of these are data. One of these in here too is just used for ISOs and stuff. But yeah, that's an easy thing to do. The one challenge, of course, is trying to get school kids to not lose their drives.
Yeah.
Imagine this. You put your book synaptry on a persistent drive that boots all by itself. There's a book with everything you need to run it right on one USB drive. You plug it in, you're reading it or listening to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, yeah, my next one is software. This is one we've pinged on a little bit. North Point makes this comment here. What is needed on Linux is some of the important software for customers, like tax software, but that will probably never happen. I'm going to push back on that slightly, and here's why. I think this is a problem, but nearly everything is web-based online. I think it's a problem, but if every software package you're using is online, like QuickBooks right now, getting a desktop installation of QuickBooks is annoying. They want everything to be on the online browser-based system, so QuickBooks and Intuit, that slimy company that shouldn't be in business, has all of your business information, but that's what they do. But nearly everybody's going online, and if everything's accessible through a web browser, what do you need Windows or Mac for? You know, schools are routinely, more often than not, pushing Windows software. I know there's exceptions, but there are schools that are more often than not pushing Windows-based software. Many employers say you have to use this software to do your tasks rather than, hey, complete your tasks however you can. We can understand that to a degree. One of the factors, though, is costs. A lot of companies are paying a lot of money, and I can't remember the name of the guy, but I follow his channel. He's mostly like a photographer, like a media artist, and he switched to FOSS alternatives. I think he kept using Windows, but he did that when he was vacationing, and he's, of course, forced to use the Creative Cloud from Adobe. He's like, oh, this is a perfect place to get some work done. I have time, sitting on top of a mountain, type of stuff I would do. Pulls up the computer, can't access anything because he doesn't have internet. It pissed him off. It completely pissed him off. And so he got back, and the first thing he did, he busted out of that Adobe Creative Suite comfort zone and started researching every FOSS alternative software, and he has an entire channel right now based on these things. And I can't remember his name, but a lot of it is cost. These costs of some of these software is becoming obscene, and maybe it's worth sending donations as you can instead of forcing yourself to buy all of the latest and greatest, you know. But software is becoming less of an issue as we push online. But there's also a lot of schools are pushing specific software instead of the alternatives. And
of course, they want to brainwash your kid with their stuff.
Well, more or less, Microsoft wants to brainwash your kid with their stuff, yes.
Which is why they mostly donate operating system and software licenses to high schools and college and educational institutions in order to get them familiar and used to using the proprietary tools. And when they get out in the actual world, they have to start paying for it.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
One thing, you know, when we're talking about software here, it's not a dead end thing. GitHub and GitLab are continuously getting new software projects being developed in their realm, and it's at a point where I can't even keep up with them. Somebody tells me to go check this, I go check this out and find some other cool thing as well. Like Warpinator. Warpinator used to be a Mint exclusive thing. It's now, I think, at GitHub, and you can download it, or you can actually get it as a flat pack and put it on any machine. I used Warpinator to take all my music that's in my main machine here and put it on my media laptop that I watch stream TV shows on. It works just fine. I found at the same time I found a bunch of other software things that were kind of there's the Warpinator, there's Landshare. Landshare works pretty good too. It comes in a deb package, I believe. Yep. Or exe. You can go from Linux to Windows with it. Snapdrop is browser kind of operated. It does direct computer to computer information sharing or file sharing.
Yep. Yeah,
these are just things I stumbled across that I didn't know was there.
Yeah, that's the cool thing. If there's so much software out there that we do a brisk task just to experiment with it all, and that's the thing.
But that's one thing that I remember some issues I had when I started using Linux 20 years ago. In the first few years, I couldn't find the software to do the things that I did on Windows because I didn't know what things were called and how to install them even. Which is what some of the new users are going to have an issue with. Is number one, how do you find out what software is available beyond what is installed? And when you find it, how do you get it installed? Because most people are going to go to the internet and download something rather than doing the package manager, because Windows is not, at least didn't used to have a package manager. They are starting to have a package manager in the terminal that you can use, but so I didn't know what things were called. So in the first few years, I didn't have the tools I needed because they didn't exist. I in my mind, I thought. And then after a few years, I started to have the opposite problem. In the last years that I used Windows, I couldn't find the tools to do stuff in Windows because the tools didn't exist in Windows. So that's a path that some users are going to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see.
Yeah, I can barely limp through Windows as it is. However, I do have a Windows 10 virtual machine. And when I got this new printer, I downloaded the Windows drivers for it too, installed them in the Windows 10 virtual machine, and allowed the printer to connect with the virtual machine. Guess what? The printer wanted a firmware update that, Linux, you can't do it just Linux. So it updated the firmware, and it works great.
Yeah, there was the one thing is right. Use unified receivers on Logitech. Well, for a long time, I was running those in like either Windows or whatever else. Well, there was actually a tool for that in Linux. I might have it installed here. Let me see if I do. But I mean, I didn't know it was there. But
I didn't. Yeah, I don't know what the tool is. I just use this stuff and hope it works.
You know what? I don't think I bought a new mouse since I put the SSD in here, so I think I had it installed on my previous one. But yeah, there's if you're using like the Logitech, keyboards and mice, there is a full native Linux application to run your unifying receivers. It's like,
the only thing it does is tell me on my taskbar what the battery level of these devices are.
Yeah, well, I hate that function, but yeah, mine is telling me right now, but my keyboard is at 100%, my mouse is at 55%. Oh, I must have it installed because I think that's, oh no, that's actually part of the new Linux Mint dashboard. I don't know, maybe. Unifying. Yeah, I don't think I have it installed, so I don't know. Well, whatever.
And also, we have talked about this before, but having a Linux is a good way to ensure that your old printers are continuing to work. Because as Windows move forward, older printers are going to stop working at some point because the drivers are not being updated, or don't have the signatures required for the newer Windows versions and so on.
That is so true. I've had to throw out 2 printers, not because the drivers became extinct because of Linux. It's because I couldn't find ink for them that didn't come in the box. It wasn't all dried up.
Yeah.
I mean, the ink became impossible to find for them.
I know. It's like I walk into Staples and I go to the ink wall because it's like an entire wall.
Yes.
And it's all HP. And it's like, how many different printers have you had to do this for? Apparently, tons and tons of them.
And now that HP has a subscription service for instant ink. You get on the subscription thing and they send you new ink all the time.
That's what they want. Commodore fan gave us that Solar, SOLAAR, for unifying receivers. It works really well. So anytime I need to get a new thing, I'll go ahead and install that onto my system. So
thanks for that name for that.
Yeah, it's SOLAAR, and it's just in your Linux repositories.
So, AAR or just AR?
AAR. SOLAAR. So my last one, we're coming up on the clock here. My last one is fragmentation. Does fragmentation help, hurt, or indifferent? I don't think it hurts. And the reason I don't is I think the biggest barriers is people don't have confidence to install Linux, and they can't buy it directly from the store, and they don't know Linux even exists. I'm not sure fragmentation counts. What do you guys think? Do you think it does or not?
I think fragmentation is one of the biggest strength of free software, because there is because there are so many choices. It means that there is something that for everyone. The way that I like to use my computer is not the way that you like to use yours, and that's fine. And when people see my computer and they see your computer, and it might not even look alike in any way at all.
Yep.
And that is one of the things that once people started to use it, and starting the confidence is starting to grow. They might discover that, maybe this other thing is better suited for me, either because they can tinker more with it, or they don't have to tinker with it. Someone else had, and I don't need to tinker with it. So another one is easier for some users.
Nice. Anybody else have thoughts on that?
I don't know. I'm kind of flipped either way. I can beat this up until I get a headache, but Saul Boo's right. Some variety is a good thing, but then again, I stop and think some of them developers on the lower end distros could be helping out with some of the other better distros. It's all too much to fathom. It's competition.
I would put it
I do understand.
Way. Yeah, I'd probably put it this way. I don't think fragmentation is a bad problem so long as we keep it sane. I think Linux has reached the point of insane with fragmentation, meaning there's thousands and thousands of distros all based on Ubuntu that are not significantly different from Ubuntu. But when you count into, do we need Debian versus Arch? Do we need Ubuntu versus Mint versus Manjaro, Endeavor? I think these are all positive things with different positive philosophies. I think it's the smaller fly-by-night distros that might hurt the community more, because there's people that are basically working on them as pet projects that don't bring anything radically significant to the table. And I think that might be one of the factors.
Yeah, and there are, I think there are 2 reasons that people, some groups would start a new distribution, which happens every year. There is something new coming out. One reason is they don't like the way the existing choices do things, and they have maybe given up trying to make changes to the distribution that they're using. So they start their own thing, and other people like it and start to use it. Another thing, another reason is some people really like to tinker, and they start doing something just because it's they scratches their own itch. They want to do it in a special way, and none of the other do it in that special way. So they start their own thing, and some people will like it and come and join and so on.
Yeah,
and that's the reason why there is more than 1,000 distros on DistroWatch.
Where I get all twisted up is in the package managers. You know, like you have the apt package manager, then you have Arch's Pac-Man package manager, you have RPM package managers. This is all stuff you have to learn that's separate from each other, on top of the command line junk that you're using for your distro. May not be the same you're using for, let's say, Red Hat or Fedora or Arch or whatever.
And this is a difference between RPM distributions and Debian distributions. And
I got to the point where I was just pick one and just stay with it and leave the rest alone.
Because one benefit that Debian distributions have is in the low-level terminal, the commands that you use, they're all the same regardless of the distribution that you're using. Whereas here in RPM land, how you do it in a terminal is different from every other distribution.
Yeah. We're up on the clock here, so let's go ahead and wrap this one up here. Just for our final numbers, we got 27 currently on YouTube. We got 23 currently on Odyssey, so you guys are coming up close. We got 10 on Rumble. Thanks for watching over there. 1 over on Twitch, and somebody's commenting now. Gossy Bacon, for some reason, my first install of Linux on a drive has always worked perfectly, and trying a fresh install from live USB always seems to work. Always seems to bork the drive. College had a full computer lab using Solaris at one point. Interesting. We have one viewer over there on DLive, Rocket still. How's it going? What do you guys think of Linux Mint Debian Edition? I love it, and I hope that they prioritize that over the regular one soon.
Yeah, I really loved it too. I was on it for over a year, maybe a year and a half, and I would have went to the next version, except they take too long to push it out. So I just installed Debian with Cinnamon, and you get just about everything except the Mint updater and the Mint tools and all that.
Rocket asked, does Linux Mint 21 make most printers plug and play? Actually, earlier versions did. I think I'm running Linux Mint 20 on my laptop, and this was hilarious. I went into one of the conferences I was at. I was like, well, I couldn't get good signal on my phone for sharing my hotspot, so I logged onto theirs. They gave us their network, which had to have had about 5,000 printers on it. For 5 minutes, I got nothing but notifications. Printer. It was so annoying. But yeah, so I could have, what I should have done is written a little script to say, take these printers off of the network you're sharing with everybody at the conference and blast it to all of the printers at once. That would have been hilarious.
Yeah.
But I figured that probably would not be a good thing to do, being as I was at a Christian concert or conference. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes,
what are you doing?
it is true. They are very much so. Looks like I have lost some of the old comments we have not gotten to yet on Odyssey. Sorry for that, but let's see if there's anything significant over here. EU Tech Health has not used Windows for 26 years. Very nice. We have 100 Libre from Thomas. Thank you for that. See if there's a comment attached to that. Nice to see you guys streaming over here. Absolutely. Well, you can thank YouTube for that, because when they decided to boot us off for mentioning the K word.
Yeah.
This is something I didn't mention in my argument back to them. You know, you can install the K word from the Google Play Store, right? And the app that I was teaching you how to use. Literally, the video they flagged and removed for violating their policy was how to use an app that is available in their own Play Store.
Oh my God.
In fact, both apps I was teaching how to use. One of them was the app itself. The other is the remote control for it.
What a bunch of that clearly says they're hypocrites.
They're clueless. Of course, everything else in the Google Play Store is also malware. So, maybe they're right.
I could just see them coming back saying,
GPS
well, that's
receiver.
Google, the online service, we're the YouTube division, completely separate, so we do our different things.
Yeah, YouTube will ban you for talking about apps available in the Google Play Store.
Yeah.
The stream is way too chill compared to the other random odysseys I've been on tonight. Well, yeah, we are chill around here. Why not, Fragmentation is bad. Linux users like it, but most people like a single understandable product. I don't know. I think there's enough unity inside Linux that it generally is okay. Let's see. Just use a bunch of distros. Keep coming back to Manjaro. All right. Let's see. Sequence CTCCCTTTGTT is 18-character gene sequence found in human chromosomes. Yes, it is.
How can we get in so much trouble for the K word when all these other creators are using the F bomb?
I don't know.
I know, right?
I don't know. I just know that I am just not going to mention the K word anytime on YouTube. So anyway.
People need to stop using KDE.
Yeah.
I know, right? I know. We have a Rumble rant over on Rumble. Thank you for that, Devour Eagle. Finally got a Rumble account following you guys here. Anyway, we can stop depending on a Mama Susan a bit more. Awesome. Why, thank you, Braxel. Most people don't know what Linux is, so fragmentation is not an issue. That's kind of the approach that I take as well. Thanks for supporting over on Rumble. We got 9 watching over there right now. And I think that is about all we have. So my last thing is as you guys know, I mentioned it a while back, I'm not streaming on the Christian channel any longer, just interest of time and things like that. But we are premiering at the same time. So I'm premiering, what we're doing right now on Thursdays is going through the prophets and how they might relate to modern American trends. So we are finishing up the book of Habakkuk today. And if you missed the previous ones, they are also over there. Those are on my Christian channel on YouTube and the Christian channel on Rumble. And I've been communicating with some people to put it on a few other places as well. I'll go ahead and drop that in the live stream comments as I am able, if you are interested in jumping on over there. My apologies that it is not over on, it's not over anywhere other than Evil Susan's YouTube right this second, but it will get on Rumble. As soon as it goes live over there, it'll automatically cross post over to Rumble. But I will go ahead and link that down here if you are interested in that. So I've put that in all of the different links for the live shows. Once again, we have been live streaming on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, and DLive. So you can catch the show on any one of those platforms anytime we stream, because I set the streaming server up. So hopefully it works. As long as it works, we'll keep using it. Anyway, stream is over. Just log on, and I was busy cleaning. I'm sorry, Anna Rita. We will be back tomorrow, Anna Rita, with the weekly news roundup. We got a great article centering the privacy. Lots of fun things. A few other people have talked about it, so we'll get into that. It'll be a great one. Be sure to watch, unless, of course, we get another strike on YouTube tomorrow. But we didn't mention the K word, so we should be good. But you never know. You never know what they're going to do at 5:30 in the morning, which is when they flagged the video that has been on the channel for 6 months.
Yeah.
Talking about the item that is available from their own servers. Anyway, we'll leave this one here for now. Thanks for watching, everybody. Weekly news roundup tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on all of these platforms: YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, and DLive. We will see you guys next time.